Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and as I stated before, we're going to get right into billables because I now have a new job. I am in a private firm working in civil litigation defense. So billables are the hours that you have to bill each client. So when you're working on a case, everything that the partner gives you, almost everything, some things you might need to ask, will they allow billables for this or that? But for the most part, the partner will typically tell you the specifics, like we don't bill for X, Y, and Z. For the most part, you need to keep track of your time. That's not a task we're used to doing. That's not a natural task because you're used to just going from task to task to task. You just do what you got to do and that's it. You get the work done. But in this case, in a firm, if we do an answer and affirmative defenses and then you don't put down that it took me 2 hours to work on that and we charge $150 an hour, how are we going to pay? How are we going to get the client to pay for this? Because you didn't tell them it took you 2 hours to do it. So that's why you need to keep track of your time for two reasons. One, for the good of the firm because the firm has to get paid. Two, because those billables count towards you. As an associate, I'm assuming who's watching this video is going to be an associate or in that realm. You have a billable requirement. For example, one of the standards is 1,800. So if you're watching this before you get hired, you need to ask what my billable requirement is, and you need to find out what other firms are paying in relation to that billable requirement. So let's say 1,800. Okay, you take 1,800, that's for the year. So then you divide that by 12 months. So then that's, I think, 143 or something like that. So you divide that by 12 months and it's 143.3 or something hours. So that means 143 hours for the month. So then you get 143 hours and you divide that by 4 weeks. That's how many hours you have to get for the week. And then you divide that again by 5 days, and that's how many hours you need to get between Monday and Friday. Now, if you're like me and you don't mind working on Saturday and Sunday, your goal should be Monday through Friday, and then that way Saturday and Sunday are just bonus hours. When they tell you your requirement is 1,800, you should try to get, personally, when they told me that, I was like, all right, I'm shooting for 19. So I first did the math for 1,800, and then I did the math for 1,900 to see how much that would be. I'll give you another example. I talked to someone, and this is what I encourage you to do. I talked to someone who had been working for a private firm for a while, and she was like, yeah, our requirement is 1,800 hours. I try to get 22, and I was like, holy crap, that's a lot more than you're required to do. However, when you think about it, if you break the numbers down, that's about 183, I think. If you do 183 a month and you break that into 4 weeks and then you break that into 5 days, that is 9 hours of billables a day. That sounds like a lot, except for if you get in at 7:30, piddle around, eat breakfast, whatever, but you start at 8 o'clock and you are billing everything you do from 8 to 5. Let's say you don't bill or you do some administrative stuff that you can't bill for. Even if you have to go to 5:30, 6 o'clock, you should get 9 hours. You should get 9 hours of billables. So that means for 5 days, 9 hours of billables, you're just doing an extra hour a day and making sure you clock that and put that in the system. You get 2,200 hours and look like a rock star associate. I would shoot for that. Maybe not 2,200. Maybe shoot for 2,000. But when they say your billable requirement is 1,800, don't be the person that comes in and is like, all right, that's the minimum. That's what I'm going to get. You can. It's not uncommon. That's just not the kind of person that I want to be seen as. So I understand that people have family requirements and things like that, and they have kids, and it can be a little difficult. But the good thing about working at a firm is you can work from home. So if you have some things that you have to do, and it's better for you to do them at work, prioritize those to do them at work, and then take the stuff that you have to just kind of flip through and review home. That still counts as billables. The other thing is you need to pay attention to, they should give you a sheet or an idea of your bonus, because let's say you have to do 1,800. If you do 1,900, they might have a sheet of paper that says you get a $5,000 bonus. Or if you get 2,200, you get a $10,000 bonus. Pay attention to that so that you can have something to shoot for. Also, so there's an incentive. So if I get this many hours, I can get, in a year's time, when they're looking at the hours for the year, I can get this lump sum check. And the other thing that I want to make sure that you're aware of, always talk to the person that takes the billables and the one that you have to release them to. There's something in the system where you have to submit them to someone. Talk to that person, because you want to talk to that person so that every time the billables are reviewed and they're done, you know exactly what your hours were for that month, so that you know, okay, I need to do a little bit more next month, or my hours were pretty good. I didn't need to, they didn't change a lot, or something like that. So don't be afraid to ask people questions. Don't be afraid to ask, how do I bill for this, or what statement do I need to say for these billables? People are willing to help. The problem is, if you don't get in asking and you're there for 3 months and then you're asking these kind of questions, people are like, really? You've been here that long and you're just now, you know? So don't be afraid to be the new associate and get in there, ask questions, and it shows initiative that you really want to learn and you really want to make sure you get this right. The last thing that I'm going to mention is time blocking. So time blocking is, if it takes you 5 hours to work on discovery because you had to go through 1,000 pages, that's understandable, but 5 hours of one big block is a lot. So make sure you break those down. Make sure you're saying, I did discovery, an hour and a half for interrogatories, an hour and a half for requests for production. And then if it's 1,000 pages, say, well, it took me 5 hours, and then put in parentheses, 1,000-page discovery. Because think about it from a client standpoint. What the heck were you doing for 5 hours? Why did it take you so long? So put as much information as possible so that they can justify why they're paying you and what they're paying you to do. I've basically kind of gotten in and not have had much of a problem, but that's, again, time management and organization. So keep that at the forefront of your mind when you're doing these. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. If you want me to reiterate some things or go into detail about some things, let me know. I will continue to keep you apprised on my changes and what I'm learning, and how it's going from a public sector to private sector. So hopefully you guys can kind of learn some what not to do's and some tips and tricks from me. So in the meantime, I have 2 videos out today, one about being a new associate and this one for billables. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.